Renting is throwing money away. Buying always builds wealth. If you've spent any time on finance Twitter or talked to literally any homeowner at a barbecue, you've heard both of these with absolute certainty. They're both wrong. The real question isn't which one is morally superior or financially guaranteed. It's which trade offs you're actually making and whether those trade offs match your life right now. Let's run the math nobody shows you. First, let's talk about what renters are actually paying for. Yes, your monthly rent doesn't build equity. That part is true, but framing it as throwing money away misses the entire picture. Renters are buying flexibility. You can move for a better job, relocate to a different city, or leave a bad neighborhood without paying 6% to agents and waiting months to close. That has real economic value, especially early in your career when mobility equals income growth. Renters also aren't tying up capital in a down payment and closing costs. A 20% down payment on a $400,000 home is $80,000. That money could be invested elsewhere. This is opportunity cost, and it's real. When your toilet breaks at 2 a.m., you call the landlord. When the roof needs replacing, not your problem. The national average for home maintenance is 1.2% of home value per year. That's $4,000 to $8,000 annually on a $400,000 home. And it's unpredictable. The trade-off? Rent inflation. Your landlord can raise rent annually. Nationally, rents have increased about 3-4% per year historically, though this varies wildly by market. Over a decade, that compounds. A $2,000 rent becomes $2,100 at 3% annual growth. Now let's talk about what homeowners actually pay. Most people focus on the mortgage payment. That's the smallest part of the cost structure. The rest is where the math gets uncomfortable. Property taxes average 1.1% of home value nationally, but range from 0.3% in Hawaii to 2.5% in New Jersey. On a $400,000 home, that's $4,400 to $10,000 per year. It's not optional, and it goes up over time. Homeowners insurance runs about $1,500 per year nationally, more if you're in flood or fire zones. HOA fees average $200, $300 monthly in communities that have them. That's another $2,400 to $3,600 per year. None of this builds equity. If you put down less than 20%, you're paying PMI, private mortgage insurance, usually 0.5% to 1% of the loan annually. On a $320,000 loan, that's $1,600 to $3,200 per year protecting the bank, not you. It eventually drops off, but it's dead weight initially. Then there's maintenance and repairs. The 1% rule is conservative. Expect $4,000 per year on a $400,000 home. But it's lumpy. One year it's nothing. The next year it's a $15,000 HVAC replacement and $8,000 for foundation work. Don't forget closing costs when you buy, typically 2 to 5% of purchase price, and realtor commissions when you sell, usually 5 to 6% of sale price. On a $400,000 home, that's $8,000 to $20,000 to get in and $24,000 to get out. Let's add it up. On a $400,000 home with 20% down and a 7% mortgage rate, your monthly mortgage is about $2,100. Add property tax, insurance, HOA, maintenance, and your true monthly cost is closer to $3,200 to $3,500. Suddenly, that $2,000 rent doesn't look so crazy. But wait, the homeowner is building equity, right? Yes, but slower than you think, especially in the early years. In year one of a 30-year mortgage at 7%, about 80% of your payment is interest. You're building equity at roughly $500 per month, not $2,100. Now let's talk appreciation. Real estate historically appreciates about 3-4% annually, roughly matching inflation. The S&P 500 has returned about 10% annually over the long run. So if you invest the difference between renting and owning, you might come out ahead. Might. Here's the trap everyone misses. Investing the difference requires discipline most people don't have. Renters who say they'll invest the savings usually don't. They spend it. Human behavior beats spreadsheet logic almost every time. Home ownership acts as forced savings. Your mortgage payment forces you to build equity whether you're disciplined or not. That behavioral advantage is real and shouldn't be dismissed, even if it's not the most mathematically efficient path. But real estate has sequence of returns risk that nobody talks about. If you buy at a market peak and need to sell during a downturn, you're locked in losses. The S&P 500 is liquid, you can wait it out. Your house? You might have to sell when your job relocates. Leverage cuts both ways. A 20% down payment gives you 5.1 leverage. If your home appreciates 20%, your equity doubles. Great. If it drops 20%, your equity is wiped out, and you still owe the full mortgage. Let's talk about freedom. Renters can move in 30 days. Homeowners need months to sell, and that's in a good market. If you're in a specialized career in your 20s or unsure where you want to be in 5 years, mobility has enormous value. The data is clear. Job switchers earn 10-20% more than people who stay put. If renting lets you chase better opportunities, that income boost might dwarf any equity you'd build. Career capital compounds faster than home equity early in your working life. But there's a life stage where this flips. Once you have kids in school, aging parents nearby, or deep community ties, mobility matters less. The transaction costs of moving, financial, and emotional, go way up. Ownership starts to make more sense. This brings us to the 5 to 7 year break-even rule. Due to closing costs and realtor fees, you typically need to stay in a home at least 5 to 7 years just to break even versus renting. Less than that, and transaction costs eat your gains. Let's run an actual example. You buy a $400,000 home with $80,000 down. Closing costs are $12,000. After 5 years, the home appreciates to $440,000. Sounds good, right? Not so fast. You've paid roughly $30,000 in principal over 5 years, so you have $110,000 in equity. But to sell, you pay $26,400 in realtor fees. Your net is $83,600. You invested $92,000 down payment plus closing costs and got back $83,600. You lost money. Meanwhile, if you rented for $2,000 and invested the $100 monthly difference at 8% returns, you'd have about $73,000 in your brokerage account, plus your original $92,000 down payment invested, now worth $135,000. Total, $28,000 versus $83,600. Of course, this assumes the renter actually invested the difference every month with perfect discipline. Most don't. It also assumes average market returns with no sequence risk. Real life is messier than spreadsheets. After 7 to 10 years, the math usually flips in favor of home ownership if you stay put. Transaction costs amortize, equity builds faster as you pay down principal, and appreciation compounds. But only if you stay. So, who should rent? People in their 20s and early 30s focused on career growth, anyone who might relocate in the next 5 years, those who value flexibility over forced savings, people in expensive coastal markets where price-to-rent ratios are insane, people who highly value liquidity and want their capital in stocks, not real estate, those who don't want to deal with maintenance, insurance, property taxes, and surprise 10,000 odd repairs, and anyone who's honest about not having the discipline to invest the difference. Who should buy? People who plan to stay put for at least 7 to 10 years. Those who found their long-term city and have stable careers. Parents who want school and neighborhood continuity for kids. People who need the forced savings mechanism because they won't invest otherwise. Those who want rent stability, a fixed mortgage payment hedges against rent inflation. And anyone who values ownership, customization, and control over their living space. It also makes sense if you're in a market where price-to-rent ratios are favorable. A good rule of thumb, if monthly ownership costs are less than 1.5x monthly rent for a comparable property, buying might make sense if you're staying long-term. But even then, run your own numbers. Use a real rent versus buy calculator that includes all costs. Property tax, insurance, maintenance, and HOA, closing costs, and selling costs. Most people skip half of these and wonder why the math didn't work. And remember, your primary residence is shelter first, investment second. If you're buying purely for investment returns, there are usually better options with more liquidity, diversification, and less concentration risk. The real lesson? Neither path is universally right. Renting isn't throwing money away, it's buying flexibility, liquidity, and freedom for maintenance. Buying isn't guaranteed wealth. It's leveraged, illiquid, geographically concentrated, and expensive to exit. The right choice depends on your career stage, life stability, location, discipline, and time horizon. Run the actual math for your situation. Be honest about your behavior, and ignore anyone who tells you there's only one right answer. Both renters and owners build wealth, just through different mechanisms with different trade-offs. Choose the path that fits your life, not the one that fits someone else's agenda. If you found this useful, subscribe for more math-based financial breakdowns that skip the cheerleading. Next week, we're tackling the 401k versus taxable brokerage question with actual numbers. See you then.